Hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I'm going to teach everyone how to cast a little bit further. If you're a novice, if you've already been fishing, you're not new to angling, you probably already know these 3 tricks that is going to increase your casting distance. I'm going to try to break it down a little bit more simply than the other videos I've seen. Let's get into the 3 tips. It's going to help you, a new angler, cast a little bit further so you can target more fish. Tip number 1, when I realized this, I changed all my setups. I went from fluorocarbon or monofilament and I switched everything to braid. So maybe I have a little bit of backing of fluorocarbon around the reel, and then I tie on a bunch of braid, and then I tie my leader on. What braid does is the diameter, the thickness of that is a lot smaller, and for some reason it just casts a metric ton further. It's also a bit stronger, so that's kind of nice. You can go with 15-pound braid, and it's way thinner than like 15-pound fluorocarbon or monofilament, and it doesn't have any of that stretch, so it's going to be more sensitive, so it's another bonus. But switching your line from monofilament or fluorocarbon to braid is going to increase your casting distance. It's going to seem a lot smoother when you cast. So that's tip number 1. What's tip number 2? Tip number 2 isn't really a skilled thing. Let's talk about your rod length. If you're using a smaller rod, your casting distance isn't going to be very long. Say you have a 6-foot rod. You're going to be able to cast, let's say, 50 yards, 75 yards. Now, if you jump that up and you go up to a 7-foot rod, your casting distance is going to increase because you have more rod to use. Generally, I like a 7-foot to a 7.5-foot rod. It just seems to send it out a lot further. You get a lot more distance out of your cast using that braid and the longer rod. So if you're having problems and you're using a smaller rod, if you just try someone else's larger rod, it should increase your casting distance. Even if you're not using braid, if you're using monofilament or fluorocarbon, you'll still be able to get more out of your cast, even if you don't want to switch to braid. So a longer rod is going to make you cast further. What's tip number 3? If you're casting with one hand, I see a lot of new anglers casting with one hand. Maybe they're using 2 hands, but when they launch it out there, you know, they'll cast and they'll let go and hold on with their left hand if you're right-handed. Or if they're right-handed, they'll cast, they let go of the rod for some reason. Now I try to explain this to people like a catapult. It's like a pendulum. So what a fulcrum is, I don't know, can I even explain a fulcrum? No. So let's think about a catapult. There's a center part, there's a lot of weight here, and then there's the thing they're trying to fling out here, you know, a rock or whatever, in medieval times, right? So if you think about your right hand, if you're right-handed, if you're left-handed, your left hand. You're holding your rod where your reel is, doesn't matter which hand it is, and then you grab the butt end of the rod with your non-dominant hand. And now what you do, you don't have to move your arms, you don't have to use your whole body to cast. What you can do is you can hold your arm, your dominant hand, it holds the line and where the reel is, you hold your hand, if you lock your elbow right into your side right here, and now you grab the back end, and instead of using your right hand to cast, what you do is you take your non-dominant hand on the butt end and you put it out here. So now the rod's back this way, right? You pull back fast with your non-dominant hand. At the same time, you're using your wrist a little bit. You're not using your whole arm. And what that's going to do is the power from your non-dominant hand is going to send your lure out. Now, if you're only casting with one hand, you can only get so far. Your arm, you can't get that much power, but I try to compare it to lacrosse or baseball or catapults for this example. If you hold it like this and you pull back with your non-dominant hand, what it does is it loads up your rod like a slingshot, and then you go like this, the rod's going to bend, and then it's going to snap like a slingshot and send your lure further out. When I started doing this, I noticed I increased my casting about twice as much. Some people are casting 100 feet. Now I can cast 200 feet. Now you can even increase that more if you, instead of just casting straight like this, if you do a roll cast, underhand roll cast, an overhand roll cast, and that's just a slight movement with your dominant hand. You go under or you go over, depending on tree cover. So if there's trees above me, I'll go under like this. If there's nothing, no tree cover whatsoever, I'll go overhand. It depends what you're trying to do with your lure, but if you want to increase your cast, you want to use your non-dominant hand to load up that rod and use the power from your non-dominant hand to pull that rod back and send that lure out. And I promise that is going to increase your casting twice as much as you're normally able to cast with just one hand. All right, freshwater fishing novices, new viewers, I want to thank you for watching my video. I hope these 3 tips helped you learn how to cast just a little bit further. Let me know if you already knew these tips down in the comments below. Give me a like if you didn't know this stuff and you think it's going to help you cast further. And if you want more helpful tips throughout the winter, helping you become a better angler next season, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. You'll be notified of new videos coming out every Friday from the Freshwater Fishing Novice. My name is Moles. Thanks for watching. I hope everyone has a great weekend. I'll catch you guys next week.